Space is quite vast.
We're receiving a signal.
On audio, Lieutenant.
Oh my God, it's full of stars.
Doc, you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Prepare ship for lunatic speed.
Into the limitless boundaries of space.
It's in the name of science.
Absolutely marvelous.
The latest results in machine intelligence.
God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs. I am your father. The podcast from Planet
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast from Planet X. My name is Ben, and with me today, as always, is my co-host David.
What's up, guys?
Today, we are discussing Back to the Future Part 2. The sequel to Back to the Future Part 1, if you hadn't guessed.
You don't say. I never would have guessed that. Tell me more, please.
This is the sequel to Back to the Future Part 3. Duh.
There's a 3?
It goes 1, 3, 2.
Oh,
Because
no
it's
wonder
Back to the Future.
I've been watching them wrong all my life.
That's right.
It's like Star Wars. What
All
order
right.
should you watch them in?
Star Wars is hard because there's plenty of orders you could watch them in, but Back to the Future, there's definitely one order, and it's 1, 3, 2.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know if the audience would agree with you on that, but
They probably wouldn't, but you know what? It doesn't matter because they're wrong. Anyway, all right. So we've got a ton of stuff to talk about this episode, but first, if you wouldn't mind starting us off with the synopsis, David.
in the zany sequel, time-traveling duo Marty McFly and Dr. Emmett Brown return from saving Marty's future son from disaster, only to discover that their own time has transformed. In this nightmarish version of Hill Valley, Marty's father has been murdered, and Biff Tannen, Marty's nemesis, has profited. After uncovering the secret to Biff's success, a sports almanac from the future, Marty and Doc embark on a quest to repair the space-time continuum.
All right. So, as far as cast and crew groups, Back to the Future Part 2 stars Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly, Christopher Lloyd as Emmett Brown, Leah Thompson as Lorraine Baines McFly, and Thomas F. Wilson as Biff Tannen / Griff Tannen. The film was written by Bob Gale, directed by Robert Zemeckis, and scored again by Alan Silvestri.
You did a wonderful job.
Yes, fantastic job.
Alrighty.
All right.
What
So,
do you think? What's your initial thoughts?
all right, my initial thoughts of this. We kind of talked about this when we were talking to some of the people from Something Ghoulish the other night, but I think that Back to the Future Part 2 is I'm not going to say it's much better than the first one because the first movie is fantastic. But I do think that it is better than Back to the Future Part 1. Back to the Future Part 1 obviously does have to exist in order for this to exist because you go to like 3 different timelines in this movie, and there's no way that you'd be able to do that without having set everything up from the first movie. But I think it benefits from, that going to the future, having the twist of going back to alternate 1985 and everything being screwed up, then having to go again back to the past to try and fix everything. So, yeah, that's my initial thoughts. I definitely enjoy this movie. I think it's fantastic.
So would you say that you would well, I guess we could save this discussion for the third one, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Would you say that your rating system would be 2, 1, then 3? As far as which ones you like the best?
Probably. I don't think I dislike the third one as much as you do. But
Who
I would
said I
say the
disliked
third
it?
is. You've told me you liked it the least out of the three.
I liked it the least. That doesn't mean I dislike it.
Well, I didn't say you. I said you. I. You may dislike it more than I do. I didn't say you disliked it at all.
Mm,
It's a comparative measure.
okay. A comparative measure, sure. Whatever you
Anyway,
say.
yeah, I would say it's 2-1-3 for me.
Okay. Okay. I got you there. Um I think I like more the storytelling and the narrative that we get with the second movie. So I'm with you on this. Um and I think some of the effects hold up a little bit better in the second one.
Oh yeah, well the budget for this movie was like, I think it was more than double what
Yeah.
the original one was.
I can believe that. I
Yeah.
really like the the whole turnaround that they did with the flying DeLorean in this one and getting away from the issues that we had with the first movie, which was simply a power issue, how to power the time circuits, anyways, without plutonium. Got away from that being the focus of the film and more about the ramifications of time travel itself. So I did like the plot in that sense a little bit more in the second one as well. Um, I don't know. The more I talk, maybe I do like the second one more than the first. It's hard to say. They're both very close
Hmm.
to me as far as I'm concerned, as far as quality goes. I like the straightforwardness, I think, a little bit more in the first film. This one is it's somewhat jumpy around, but it's somewhat not. It just depends on what it is. If you completely understand the paradox that they've created by having that almanac show up at the wrong place at the wrong time because a certain somebody got a hold of the time machine when he shouldn't have.
Hmm.
Um, I like the paradox created by that. So that's something that I think this movie had going for it as far as the plot. Um, but everything else, I don't know. It's hard to say. They're both very close. I really like the movie a lot. I love the technology that's featured in it. I love
Hmm.
being able to see what they envisioned for the future. Um, the things that we didn't get. We've come and gone past what they thought in the movie as far as
Yeah.
some things, and then there's other things we haven't even gotten close to yet. So we shall see. 2015 has passed. Maybe it should have been 60 years in the future, and maybe we'll have our flying cars and Mr. Fusion and 20. I guess it'd be 2045 instead.
Maybe.
We'll
I doubt
see.
it though.
We shall see.
All right, so let's move on to our first point here. Um, it's impossible to talk about Back to the Future Part 2 without mentioning the lawsuit brought forth by the original actor who portrayed George McFly, Crispin Glover. The lawsuit came about because of a salary disagreement between Glover and the producers of the film, and rather than opting to write George out of the film, decided to use footage of Glover from Back to the Future Part One, as well as use actor Jeffrey Weissman, who wore prosthetics, including a false chin, nose, and cheekbones to resemble Glover. Various techniques were used to obfuscate the Weissman footage, such as placing him in the background rather than the foreground, uh, having him wear sunglasses, and hanging him upside down. The lawsuit said that the producers of the film neither owned his likeness nor had permission to use it. Do you think that what Zemeckis did was right? How could it have been done differently?
This is one of those things where I see what they're saying about the likeness and whatnot, because they did go through a lot to try to keep the resemblance there.
Mhm.
I think it would have just been safer to just recast him like they did and just go with it instead of trying to go through all of these measures that they did to keep the resemblance the same.
Yeah.
And I think they would have stayed out of a lot of trouble had they done that. I don't think you could make too much of an argument about the footage had you not gone and tried to use the prosthetics to keep the likeness the same. I don't think there's anything you could say about the footage, because at that point, that should have been considered copyrighted intellectual property of the studios. So I don't think there's anything you could do about that. But the fact that they went through so much trouble to keep the likeness, I think that's where they opened themselves up into issues. And
Yeah.
I see why he'd feel a little bit gypped in that sense. So I think Zemeckis may have done the wrong call. Either pay the man what he wants, and if he's being unreasonable, okay, fine. Do what you did and recast him. Who says he has to be in the second one? Unless there was some kind of contract written up that states, I'm in all three of them and you can't do anything about it unless you're willing to buy me out. I don't think there's anything that you could have done. But to go as far as they did, I think that's the problem. And I can see why he'd be upset. So I'm kind of with them on that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on the already existing film thing, like reusing footage from the first movie. That I think, I mean, it's like they already filmed it. They've already got it. You know, there's not a whole lot you can do.
And he was compensated for that in the first movie too.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that they went out of their way to have somebody else look like him, you know, using the prosthetics and everything, and trying to disguise the fact that this is a completely different person.
I don't understand
by literally
why.
hanging him upside down. I mean, I think that they could have done what they did, but it wouldn't have been so egregious if he hadn't been in the scenes from the future. Like if he had just been dead in the future, it would have been just fine. I mean, they would have had to use Jeffrey Weissman in the shot where George is beating up or punches Biff in the face, like when he's like way off in the background when Marty's in Strickland's office.
Mm-hmm.
They would have still had to use him then.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that would have been literally the only scene that they would have needed to use him for.
And that was framed in such a way that you really could have done some creative lighting and creative costume design to totally obscure the fact that it could have. All you would have really had to done is get like the same profile and same build on the guy, same body type and height and whatnot,
which is pretty much what they did.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't think you really would have been. I don't think he would have been none the wiser on that because of the way that was framed. I mean, he was a good distance behind. That was what, a good 40, 50 feet easily?
Something like that. Yeah, they were pretty tiny out there.
Yeah, so I don't. There's, like you said, there's a couple of scenes where that would have been necessary to do something, but I don't think it was that big of a deal. Why they went through as much trouble with the prosthetics, I don't understand, and I think that's where the likeness argument can definitely be argued.
Yeah.
What else do you think about that? You think that's it?
I think that's it.
Alrighty, let's move on to some technical achievements, shall we? So, the film was considered one of the most groundbreaking projects for ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, and it was one of the effects houses. Good Lord. Is it supposed to be houses?
Yeah, houses.
Effects
Just
houses.
read the sentence.
Okay, whatever.
Jeez.
I was just trying to figure out how to read it. It was one of the effect house's first forays into digital composting.
Compositing.
That makes more sense. It's a composting. God, into digital compositing, as well as VistaGlide motion control camera system, which enabled them to shoot one of its most complex sequences, in which Fox played 3 separate characters: Marty Sr., Jr., and Marlene. That did not go so well, I think.
Yeah.
All of whom interacted with each other. Although such scenes were not new, the VistaGlide allowed for the first time a completely dynamic scene in which camera movement could finally be incorporated. The technique was also used in scenes where Fox, Thomas L. Wilson, Christopher Lloyd, and Elizabeth Shue's characters encountered and interacted with their counterparts. Did these scenes ever stick out to you? After I butchered that.
Did the scenes ever stick out to me? Not when I originally watched it, but you can definitely see the seams when you're watching it nowadays. Like, you can see there's a little bit of shimmering artifacts on the stuff that they've composited into the scene. But for the most part, it's a pretty convincing effect.
It is,
especially considering it was like the late 80s that they put this together. So
yeah, I didn't realize that this is what they incorporated into it. For some reason or another, I was thinking like green screen technology or something, where we have just, let's redo what little motion and what little acting we've got to do in green screen and just have the original footage incorporated later. I thought that's what was going on with some of this, but I like this technique a lot better, and it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
The only thing that ever stuck out to me was the fact that they had Michael J. Fox playing Marlene. I mean, it's the only one that clearly stuck out. I was like, yeah, okay.
That was, yeah.
It did work so
modern
well.
Makeup. No, it did not. It was
like,
bad.
Yeah. You could see the cracks on that one a little bit.
All right. So, moving on to our third point here. Although there are many things depicted in the movie that haven't come to fruition, there are quite a few things the movie got right. The movie predicted the rise of ubiquitous cameras, use of unmanned flying drones for news gathering, widescreen flat panel television sets mounted on walls with multiple channel viewing, smart home technology, video chat systems, hands-free video games, talking hologram billboards, wearable technology, tablet computers with fingerprint scanners, head-mounted displays, and even dog-walking drones. Which of the things that haven't been invented yet would you like to see the most?
I want my flying cars, first and foremost. Now, I don't think that's ever going to be really realistic, and the problem with it is just the complexity involved with flying cars. I mean, we can't get people to drive on the roads without having accidents everywhere. So
if you got 80-year-olds going from a park position in front of a convenience store directly through the door, imagine what would happen with the flying cars.
Yeah, I mean, I want it, but it's not feasible. It can't happen. There's no way.
See, all right. There's two things that I want. One is kind of more of a joke, and one is definitely like 100%. I would 100% love to see this. The hoverboard, I want.
I
the
could see
hoverboards are super cool.
Yeah, I'd fall on my butt, obviously. So I could care
we have evidence.
Yes, we do. That was funny.
my joke one is I want to have the, I don't know, awareness or attention span to be able to put 8 TV channels up on one TV and pay attention to all of them.
Yeah, I could just see the uses for that beyond I mean, if you had the brain power to be able to focus on that, imagine
Yeah.
what else you could accomplish.
Yeah, no kidding.
I wouldn't be putting it to such trivial use as watching 8 different programs at the same time.
It
But
depends on the day.
it depends on the day. 8 YouTube videos. There we go.
That's right.
That'd get me through the back catalog really fast. But I'd be like, oh gosh, imagine what you could come up with, all this stuff if we could just unlock the brain that we have in our heads beyond, like, what is it, like 10-15% at any given time used. It's like,
Yeah, I know.
for all the stuff we have up here as far as gray matter goes, we sure as heck don't use very much of it.
That doesn't seem like we do. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a myth that we only use like 10 to 15
I'm sure it is.
percent of our brains, but
Yeah,
I'm with you. It definitely doesn't seem like most people use their entire brain most of the time.
Yeah, some of them I think are missing a few brain cells, but
Missing
won't
a couple
go there.
hemispheres there.
Yeah, flying cars for me. That's the one. Because I can't think of anything else that I actually like. The hoverboard you mentioned is good, but I could care less. I'd fall on my butt anyways. It doesn't matter if it's got wheels or if it's hovering. I still wouldn't know what to do with it. The jacket is stupid, I think.
Yeah.
Laces, sure,
The
but I don't
laces
use
would be
laces
cool.
anyways.
Yeah, they have slip-on shoes. So.
Exactly. Yeah, even if you don't have slip-on shoes like me, you're just too lazy to unlace them.
Oh yeah, when I had shoes with laces on, I would just keep them tied and pull it right off.
Exactly. So
Easy peasy.
I could care less about that. Everything else is just we've got it or we've got something equivalent to it. Dehydrator, the rehydrator for the pizza stuff. That's something that I feel like
That would be.
we
that'd be
poison
pretty
ourselves as
interesting, I
much
think.
as we do. We don't need to continue
Yeah.
down that road.
It would be interesting, but it would definitely wouldn't help the health of the American populace.
No, we don't need any help poisoning ourselves. We got that well
God,
under
no.
control as it is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Alrighty. God, what is this word, Ben?
What, you don't have to say the title of the thing.
Okay, good. Alright, so there are hundreds of reviews for this movie, most positive, some negative. Some critics have even said that the movie is the best sequel ever created. What is your opinion on this statement and of the movie in general?
As far as the statement goes, I don't know. I can only think, at least off the top of my head, I can only think of one other sequel that was definitely that at least came close to the original, if not topped the original, and that's Aliens. So I can't say that I can 100% throw my weight behind that statement. But as far as the movie in general goes, I mean, I kind of touched on this when we said our initial thoughts too, but
Yeah.
I definitely think it's better than the original, just because of the tale that it's able to weave, and it's pretty much the same length as the original movie. It feels like we get so much more from this one than we did out of the first one. And like I said, the first one is definitely needed to create the groundwork for everything. But this one is definitely, I would say it's better, definitely.
Yeah, I think the statement is wrong. There are, as far as the best sequel ever statement, there are plenty of sequels that fail miserably. I'd say the vast majority fail miserably to capture even like I'd say like 70% of the original magic.
Yeah.
But there are cases out there where the sequel is just as good, if not better, than the original.
Mhm.
You went with Aliens. I'm going to go with animation here and argue Toy Story 2
Oh yeah, Toy Story 2,
as being better.
or even uh, Empire Strikes Back over A New Hope.
Yeah. There's corner cases out there that are definitely better than the original.
Yeah.
And for multiple reasons. Toy Story, the biggest one, is clearly, and it's given. It's just the animation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you get when you have literally years of advancement, because it literally took years to get the sequel out, which is fine. But I think the story was better too. For Star Wars, I think it's story.
Are you sure you're thinking of Toy Story 2 and not Toy Story 3?
It was a good 5 years, I think, between 2 and 3.
2 and 3 are
No, not 2 and 3. 1 and 2.
one,
2
one
and 3 were like
2
10 years.
Yeah, 1 and 2 don't look all that much different to me. I mean, maybe a little bit, but
I used to think that too, but I've watched 1, and let me tell you, the themes are starting to show big time.
maybe I'll have to go back and watch it then.
I think it's just the source material that you watch it on, because I couldn't tell back in the day.
It could
but
be.
There is a there's still I still can't tell between DVD, because I've got the whole DVD set of all of them except for 4. Now that I think about it, but who cares? But I'm sure with Disney Plus and the fact that you've got the 4K TV, you'd be able to tell.
Yeah, probably.
But anywho,
I'll probably have to go back and watch those.
Yeah.
Soon.
I don't think it's the best sequel ever made. It's a good sequel.
Yes.
And it definitely is in the camp of, definitely lives up to the original, if not outperforms it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not exclusive in that, and I think others do it better.
Yeah. I would have to agree with that. All right. Well, we're at the final point of our show. We're going to give closing thoughts and then rate the movie. And we don't have to do any spinning of the wheel because we're going to do Back to the Future Part 3 for our next episode. So without further ado, what are your final thoughts on this movie? And then throw me a rating.
Alrighty. So, and what are we going to do our rating system? Are we going to do it out of 5 flying cars, flying DeLoreans?
I'm gonna say we're gonna do it out of 5 burning sports almanacs.
That works. God, imagine what we could do with that. Oh,
sheesh! Yeah, no kidding.
I wish I had the chances of being able to predict even 20% of the races that would be in that almanac. I'd still make a fortune with that.
Yeah, jeez.
But anyways, out of 5, oh wait, I gotta get my thoughts first. So, closing thoughts. As a sequel, I think it held up really well. Is it better than the original? It's, the more I think about it, I think there's arguments to say yes, but I'm also going to stick with my original assessment and say that as far as the movie goes, I think the first one is the smidgest bit better. I mean, we're talking like 2% better. I really liked the storytelling that was involved, specifically the foreshadowing. There wasn't a lot of that in the first movie, and I know it's because they didn't know what they were going to create at first. And then the second one was obviously directly tied to the third one with filming and everything. I mean, they literally had... Is this something that they filmed something back to back? Like, did they do both within the same production run as far as filming, or did they take time off and come back a year later or something? Because I feel like it was all done together.
Between 1 and 2?
Yeah, no, between 2 and 3. There's like 5 years difference between the first and the second, right?
Yeah, 2 and 3 were filmed at the same time.
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
Because Michael J. Fox was having an extended break from Family Ties or whatever show he was on.
Gotcha. I felt
They
like
were like
they were
ending the
filmed.
season or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, they were filmed at exactly the same time.
Okay.
Which is
so
why you got that teaser at the end, and then all the little bits mixed in, like
that
the
is okay. That's
Mad
what I
Dog
thought.
Biff Tannen thing, and
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought. So I did like that, and it did. I liked how they created the paradox with, going back, having to get the almanac because Biff got a hold of it, and everything that entails, and the fact that you can't just go back to when you thought you lost the almanac or go back and stop those events because we're on a whole different timeline. I think it did one of the better jobs as far as explaining how that would work. Now, does that mean that's actually how it works? I don't know. But
we probably will
it
never
makes
know.
the most sense to me.
Yeah.
So whether or not that's actually how it works, we may never know. And if we do know, I'm sure it won't be in my lifetime. But hey, strange things have happened.
Exactly.
So for that, I think it did a really good job, and I really love the movie. And I think, as far as the sequels go, as far as the trilogy as a whole goes, it's definitely got some of my favorite moments in it. So for that, I love it.
All right, so what are you going to give it?
Out of 5 burning almanacs, I would say it's a solid 4 for me.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so as far as my closing thoughts go, I'm probably just going to echo a bunch of what I said earlier in the episode. But yeah, I agree with you as far as like pretty much everything goes. I still think that the second is better than the first. Like I said, there's no way that this movie could exist without the first movie. That Back to the Future Part 1 walked so Part 2 could run.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that I can't say that it's better. So yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy the movie. The story is fantastic. The effects are top notch.
Yes, they did hold up on much better.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm still excited for the third part, but this is definitely the high point in the trilogy for me. So I don't remember what I rated Part 1. So if it's the same rating, then boo-hoo, screw you, whatever. I'm gonna give this a 4.5.
I feel like we did the same thing, because I think I made the comment. I think it was a 4.25 between the two of us. I think.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Something like
say.
that.
I know you
It
were
doesn't
higher,
matter.
and I know there was a middle ground. What it is, who cares?
Yeah.
It's still a really good movie.
All right. Well, like I said, that's pretty much it for this episode. We don't have to roll any dice or anything because we know we're doing Back to the Future Part 3 for our next episode. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast from Planet X. We are hosted, edited, and produced by Ben Mason and co-hosted by David Knowles. Our theme song is produced by the Tormented Teamster. You can follow Ben on Twitter at BenPlaysVidyaS, that's Ben Plays VIDYAS, and you can follow David on Twitter at Car6x16. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can contact the show on Twitter at PlanetXPod or by email at podcastfromplanetx@gmail.com. That's all for this episode. We'll see you next time.